Good evening and welcome to the 2020 awards ceremony of the European Union Prize for Literature, an award recognising emerging fiction writers from across Europe. The award is funded by the Creative Europe programme. Due to the current COVID-19 global pandemic, this is the first ever virtual ceremony of the prize and hopefully the last. Let's seize this occasion to celebrate 13 outstanding laureates. On the 19th of May 2020, we were delighted to announce the 13 laureates of the 2020 European Union Prize for Literature. Today, we celebrate them. Let us welcome our first guest of honour to open the ceremony and congratulate our winning authors. We are very happy to have with us the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, Maria Gabriel.
With great pleasure that I welcome you to the award ceremony of the 2020 edition of the European Union Prize for Literature. I would like to thank the Federation of European Publishers, the European and International Booksellers Federation, and the European Writers' Council, who collectively organized this prize. Together with translators, editors, distributors, libraries, book fairs, and literature festivals, they represent the whole book sector in Europe, and their constant engagement to the European literature is highly appreciated. It is thanks to all their work that today we celebrate 13 new books, 13 different stories written by emerging authors from all over Europe. The diversity of their backgrounds, languages, and paths in life is a great example of what makes Europe unique. This is why we have this prize, to showcase Europe's contemporary literature, its diversity and creativity, sharing with other European audiences and cultures. These winners will become ambassadors for European literature. More than ever, we need culture to be able to cope with the current challenges. We need literature and authors to transfer us to different worlds and give us different perspectives on all that surrounds us. This prize symbolizes the European Union's commitment to promote cultural diversity and support the cultural and creative sectors, recognizing emerging authors, encouraging translations of European authors, fostering cooperation within the European book sector. And through Creative Europe program, in synergy with Horizon Europe, with Digital Europe program, structural funds, and other European initiatives, will continue to support the cultural and creative sectors also during the next programming period, 2021-2027. We have to make sure that culture and the book sector benefit from the recovery plan at European and national level. We have proposed also to increase our support to the book sector in the Creative Europe program, to encourage the translation and circulation of European books, and to facilitate cooperation between the different links of the book chain in Europe. Before we discover the winning books for this year, I would also like to salute the incredible resilience of European local bookshops hit so severely by the different restrictions linked to COVID-19. They deserve our support and admiration. They are an integral part of this sector, bringing our communities together. Europe needs creativity and a strong book sector, and we are here to support you. Congratulations to all the winners of this prize for their talent and creativity. Europe is united in diversity, and it is the beauty and diversity of your artistic expression that unites us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Commissioner, for your tireless defence of our sector and the necessary aid to support its recovery and sustain creativity and cultural diversity. Now let's hear from the first group of winning authors, presented by the President of the European Writers' Council and a best-selling author herself, Nina George.
Welcome to this unique edition of the European Union Prize for Literature 2020. In the midst of the greatest rupture in world society and a fundamental challenge for the European cultural landscape, we celebrate voices and authors of a united and yet diverse Europe. Please welcome with me the first 4 out of 13 winners of the European Union Prize for Literature 2020. Irena Sola from Spain, Stavros Christodoulou from Cyprus, Francis Kerbs from Luxembourg, and Maria Navarro from Norway. My name is Nina George. I'm the president of the European Writers' Council, the European Federation of 46 national authors organizations from over 30 countries. Together with the European Federation of Publishers and together with the International and European Federation of Booksellers, we warmly congratulate you. What you all 4 authors and your awarded books have in common is the theme of understanding. To understand a place, to understand a murder, to understand a suicide, and even to understand with witty interpretations European literature. Let's start with some insight in your outstanding books. I Sing and the Mountain Dances is the title of Irena Sola's novel, a masterpiece written in the beautiful Catalan language and published at Editorial Anagrama in Barcelona. Irena, your novel is a choir of different voices. It tries to understand how memories and magic influences all the life around. How would you describe your novel to a reporter from, let's say, the New York Times?
I would explain to this New York Times reporter that in Canto Jo y la Montaña Balla, I Sing and the Mountain Dances, I tell the story of a family that lives in the Pyrenees Mountains and that is struck by 2 sudden and violent deaths upon these mountains. The father, Domènec, dies in the 70s when he is hit by lightning, and Hilari, the son, dies in the 90s in a hunting accident. But in the novel, I tell you this story from the perspective of all those who inhabit or cross this place. And when I say all, I mean all. I mean the humans, the members of the family that survive, their neighbors, but also from the point of view of the animals that live in this landscape, or the mushrooms, or the clouds that rain on top of these hills, or the ghosts of those who have died there, Hilari the son, for example, but also women who were accused of witchcraft and executed there 300 years ago, or the defeated who crossed these mountains, escaping Franco's army on the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War. And also from the perspective of the magical creatures, the mythological creatures, the water sprites that are supposed to live in the Pyrenees, and even from the voice of the mountain itself.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the New York Times, thank you for the short interview. Stavros Christodoulou and his breathtaking mystery novel, The Day the River Froze, published as Castaniotis Publications in Greek, is set both in Athens and in Budapest, trying to understand János the Hungarian, please correct me if I spell it a little bit wrong, arrested as suspected murder of a famous painter. Stavros, imagine you would meet Quentin Tarantino in an elevator and you just have perhaps 30 seconds. How would you pitch him your novel?
Well, dear Nina, if we are talking about such a significant director as Quentin Tarantino, I would have to do my best. The first thing anyone needs to know about my book is that it is a crime fiction. The story is about a crime which took place in Greece a few years ago. A young immigrant known in Athens' gay underground scene as János the Hungarian was arrested for the murder of a famous painter. A reporter starts an intensive search, and the first question he must answer is if this is a typical crime in the male prostitution world. Every chapter of the book is a story of a possible suspect. Their personal demons drifting them to the wild side. Finally, that's what it's all about, deep dives in people's souls. My heroes are emotionally crushed, and they are desperately looking for someone to love and understand them. The murder is only the pretext to show people's lives, not only their background, but also their feelings, their thoughts, their fears. The book also illuminates the current social reality in multicultural city of Athens and addresses existential issues like, are we born with a fate? The opportunities we were born with influence our life. Finally, if I had to describe my book only with a few words in 30 seconds, I would say that it is a crime story, but the crime is irrelevant.
We now go to Norway and to Maria Navarro Skaranger's intensive book of grief, The Story of Niels in the Woods. It's her second novel, published at Forlaget October in Oslo, and tries to understand the suicide of a young man, Niels, from the perspective also of his sister. Maria, already your first book was launched in Norwegian cinemas in March 2020. And we stay now with the film. Imagine you're together with your favorite movie star in an elevator. Quentin Tarantino has left with Stavros at the moment, but you're now together with your favorite movie star. How would you describe to him or to her his or her role in the Book of Grief?
But my debut novel was like about childhood, so it was much easier to make a film out of it. But the Book of Grief is a very personal story to me, so I would never sell my rights to a film company so they could make a film out of it, because I also lost my brother in a suicide once. So it would be very uncomfortable for me to make a film out of it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Could you give us some more insights? Because the perspectives, is it only the sister? So maybe you, if I allowed to ask this, is there also a voice from the mother or from Niels himself?
Yeah, or the book is, it tries to understand or tries to show the whole family's reaction on this suicide. So it's the sister, she's seeing her mother, and she's seeing her father, and also another brother. So it's sort of I don't know. I try to capture the whole family and not only her personal grief. Yes.
Perhaps later on, we might also talk about your profession, but thank you for sharing this personal words with us. It seems to be not easy to win with this story an award.
No.
You're brave. You're brave.
Thank you.
We now go to Luxembourg. Francis, or Francis, Curbs and his short story collection, The Mutation, 7 Stories and a Poem, published at Hydre Edition in Bridel, starts with a rewriting of existing texts from European literature, but transforms it brilliantly in other plots and characters in so-called mutations. Francis, what's the overarching theme that holds all of the short stories, all of the mutations together?
The overarching theme is the mutation. I take 7 stories and 1 poem and I mutate them into something really different, and that's the theme. So the 7 stories have all different themes. One thing that holds them together is, but one story, they are all more or less about animals. A few are from the view of animals, like The Mark on the Wall by Virginia Woolf. it's written from the point of view of the snail on the wall, which is the mark on the wall. Another is written out of the point of view of a fly, that is the Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I have just changed the story. Kafka, it is a human who transforms into a giant bug, and it's a housefly which transforms into a human being, with all the comical and less comical implications. And one thing I tried here is by mutating is get away from the anthropocentral point of view. So not looking from the point of view of us humans, but looking at humans from the point of view of animals, aliens, or transforming a story into the antique. So that's a little bit political. I don't try to push people to push it into people, but it's like what are we doing with nature in this moment? We tend to think that we are the center of the world, of the universe, but still nature is more powerful than us. We can look down on insects and animals, but they probably will survive us. So that's maybe on the other hand, I try to do it as diverse as possible, as you can do with the collection of short stories.
During a time of isolation in which we all only can travel in thought to our neighbors and to our friends in Europe, I would like to wrap up our discussion during the wonderful digital ceremony on the European Union Prize for Literature 2020 with your personal European vision. And I would like to start with Irena. Your story is set in a border area between Spain and France, and it seems as a metaphor to today's also crisis. People have to lock themselves inside their homes, and partly we fall back in a fragmented Europe. And when you think of a reunited Europe, what is your vision? How can literature help us to stay connected? Because I understood also your novel as a sort of everything is connected with each other. And let us hear your vision.
Nina, first of all, let me thank everyone who has made this prize a reality. Thank you. This is the first time that a novel written in Catalan wins the European Prize for Literature. And this fills me with joy and pride and gratitude towards everyone who worked to make this possible. I cannot tell you how excited it makes me to know that this book is being translated into so many languages and that it is going to travel all around Europe to get to know readers and writers from so many and so different places. Because as you were saying, I deeply believe in the transformative power, in the potential for change and for understanding of literature. However, in this moment of happiness, I think it is important to remember that we are living complicated times, that we are all suffering because of the COVID crisis, but that there are other issues that we should not forget about either. And not only should we not forget them, but it is urgent and that we address them, that we take responsibility for them, and that we try to solve them. If we want to think about a reunited Europe and its future. Issues such as the refugees crisis, such as the hundreds of lives that are left to drown in the Mediterranean every year, or also the fact that nowadays there are still people being prosecuted in Europe for their art or their ideas. Sadly, in Spain, there are cases of this. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to say that these are issues that worry me as a European, as a writer, and as a human being. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these most important words. From my point of view, artists and authors are the backbone of free speech and democracy also. And it's also our task to speak out the truth and even the demandings we have as decision makers to keep a democracy alive and to look on the situations where the wounds of our democracies are. Stavros, Davros, your investigator in your book, unravel the depths of history and leading often to today's new reality. When you think of the Europe of tomorrow, how could society, how could readers, how could politicians, how could even we as writers today care for a reality of tomorrow we really want to live in?
Yeah. Well, the reporter in my book, like me, tries to feel the pulses of the city. I believe that in our days, European countries have much more in common than in the past. One of them is the immigration problem, but there are also political issues as the financial crisis, populism, and the extreme right wing. There is the new European reality that my book is talking about. Literature captures the new social reality, and awards such as the Eupl help to spread the thoughts and reflections of writers throughout Europe. In my opinion, this should be the way forward in the pursuit of a common European future, a new identity to cover all Europeans while enabling us to maintain our national identity. This is a Europe I dream of, equal opportunities and equal relations between North and South. And I'm not referring only to economic figures, but mainly to culture, which of course includes literary production. The common European future will become possible if the societies and the politicians develop a better understanding of one another. The European writers help to build the European cultural landscape by communicating to the readers their concerns, their ideas, and their thoughts for a better future.
Thank you very much. Here's my advice to every politician. Please read the books from the award laureates from 2020 of the European Union Prize for Literature. You will learn a lot about people and Europe too. Maria, in her novel, his mother and his siblings are trying to find a way to live on after Niels. And it turns out to be 3 very different tracks to follow. What is your European vision to perhaps better go on after the Corona rupture?
Oh, it's such a difficult question, and I don't have any authority or to answer it. Or it's difficult to me to even imagine something after this this situation we are all in. So right now, I'm just thinking, have to stay home, and people have to listen to their authorities and their advice for not so people don't get the COVID-19 virus. But after, when we have a vaccine, I don't know. We have to reorganize jobs and how we look at Europe and what Europe is today. I don't know.
It is a difficult question, perhaps not only for us as writers. I realized during the crisis some points I do not miss. I do not miss the fast life, running around, being here and there and showing up. And I'm a little bit relieved to live in the now and a little bit more slowly. And when I think of the future, we have, from my point of view, to ask us if we want to live so fast again, or if we have to reinstall values. This was something what came in my mind. So, but thank you. Francis, since 2003, half an era. You hosted poetry slam sessions, and you're also the co-organizer of public readings. And regarding the impact, especially for us, for authors, of the coronavirus, what has Europe lost in a way during this pandemic? What is your vision of a lively, flourishing Europe with all the comeback literary encounters and events?
Yeah, well, I have seen it. I am not only a host, I am a poetry slammer. I have been a poetry slammer myself for more than 10 years. And from 2012 on, I focus more on books. But I have a lot of friends. I write in German, so I'm most connected to the German-speaking scene. I have a lot of good friends who really, it broke their income. They have 200 to 250 readings and poetry slams a year. They are all the time touring. And without that possibility, they do have nothing. I'm a little bit lucky because I work as a journalist, so I have more options to work with. And the reason, for example, why I do not write in Luxembourgish, which is a very small language, understood by 300,000 or 400,000 people. I write in German because that gives me access to the whole German-speaking Europe. And I even sometimes write in English or translate myself in English just to reach a lot more people. So the thing which unites us, but which is always also a barrier, is, in my opinion, the languages in Europe. The sole language in which we understand each other is English, but we still have to write in our own languages. And for now, I am writing my next book, which will come out in March, and hopefully after they have found a vaccine, we can try to start again, because I see a lot of people struggling with financial problems, also with mental health. I have a few friends who didn't live lockdown very well. I like yourself, I adapted myself quite well because I don't say I like it, but yeah, it's slowing down and thinking about stuff, reading books, listening to music, working from home. I miss meeting people and I miss the pubs, but hey, it's a luxury, so we can live with that. But I don't think that people will learn a lot from it, honestly. We have been shown now once again that we are quite small in the face of a totally brainless virus, but it can keep us locked down. It can make people die. It can change our whole life. And then you have the people, the conspiracy theoretics, the right wings, who don't believe in the virus and don't believe in whatever. So there's a split going to society here. I see that the German English-speaking countries, or like Stavros said, that the right wing rising in different countries around. So I'm not an optimist. I'm not here to tell people everything will be okay. You know, we are here to tell people, look, it's not okay. And first you have to say it's not okay, and then you can change something. If politicians listen to us, but I don't think so. Yeah.
This will be definitely not true. They will listen to us because you are the winners of the European Union Prize for Literature, and you're so much more. Thank you all very much for this moment. And again, please let me express my gratitude and also my honor to be with you here today, exactly now, exactly in these times, because your voices and everything what you have said is the basis for democracy, the basis for cultural exchange and a true European community. Congratulations for winning the European Union Prize for Literature 2020.
Our laureates' stories have the power to resonate throughout Europe. Professor Monika Grütters, Minister of State for Culture and the Media of the Federal Republic of Germany, and currently presiding over the Culture Council of the European Union, is now ready to address the laureates to honor their voices.
Sehr geehrte Frau Kommissarin, liebe Maria Gabriel, sehr geehrte Frau Abgeordnete, liebe Sabine Verheyen, liebe Kolleginnen und Kollegen Abgeordnete, liebe Freundinnen und Freunde der Literatur, verehrte Jury und vor allem aber liebe Preisträgerinnen und Preisträger. Der Europäer ist ein Mensch mit Erinnerungen. So hat es die kroatisch-deutsche Schriftstellerin Marica Borodzic einmal gesagt, die 2013 mit dem Literaturpreis der Europäischen Union ausgezeichnet wurde. Und natürlich sind alle Menschen auf der Welt Menschen mit Erinnerungen. Doch wer sich als Europäer betrachtet, ist sich der Kriege und Konflikte sehr bewusst, die Europa über Jahrhunderte geprägt haben. Europäer, Europäerin zu sein, heißt nicht zuletzt, sich an das Grauen der nationalsozialistischen Barbarei und an das unfassbare Leid zweier Weltkriege im 20. Jahrhundert echt zu erinnern. Und daraus erwächst ein Bewusstsein für die Bedeutung eines jetzt geeinten Europas. Dieses Bewusstsein verdanken wir Europäerinnen und Europäer nicht zuletzt, sondern ganz besonders auch Schriftstellerinnen und Schriftstellern. Denn sie sind es, die individuellem menschlichen Erleben und persönlichen Schicksalen eine Stimme geben. In der Geschichte, wie aber natürlich auch in der Gegenwart Europas. Sie sind es, die anschreiben gegen Vergessen und Verdrängen. Sie sind es, die uns in andere Zeiten, an andere Orte versetzen und uns mit fremden Menschen in Fühlung treten lassen. Das 20. Jahrhundert hat die Barbaren sprechen lassen, weil die anderen geschwiegen haben. So noch einmal Marica Borodzic. Autorinnen und Autoren brechen das Schweigen. Sie erweitern unsere Wahrnehmung und damit auch die Grenzen unserer Empathie. Diese Wirkmacht der Literatur würdigt der Literaturpreis der Europäischen Union. Und für diese Wirkmacht stehen auch die 13 in diesem Jahr ausgezeichneten Autorinnen und Autoren. Seit 2009 bereits ist der Preis eine echte Hommage an die Vielstimmigkeit und den literarischen Reichtum Europas und natürlich an die Grenzen überwindende, verbindende Kraft eben der Literatur. Bücher können damit Botschafter sein, die, übersetzt in Sprachen anderer Länder, Verständnis und Verständigung fördern und Kulturfreundschaften vertiefen. Dies alles hat in der Corona-Krise echt gelitten. Und wir können mit vielen Hilfsprogrammen zwar Nöte lindern, aber nicht alle Probleme lösen. Die Wiederbelebung des kulturellen Lebens verdient deshalb dieselben Anstrengungen, die auch anderen Branchen zuteil werden. Denn Kunst ist keine Delikatesse für Feinschmecker, sondern Brot für alle. Künstlerinnen und Künstler sind die Botschafter des Möglichen in der Wirklichkeit. Als treibende Kräfte gesellschaftlicher Selbstreflexion sind sie für eine Demokratie ebenso überlebensnotwendig wie für jeden Einzelnen als Inspiration für Träume und für die Suche nach Antworten auf existenzielle Fragen des Menschseins. Erinnerungen wach und lebendig zu halten, Mögliches sichtbar zu machen und Wirklichkeit als veränderbar zu zeigen. All das gehört zu den echten Kernkompetenzen von Schriftstellerinnen und Schriftstellern. Im Bann eines Buches erfahren wir, dass eben auch alles anders sein könnte, als wir es wahrnehmen. Und manchmal spüren wir mitfühlend, mitfiebernd die Sehnsucht nach einer besseren Welt, nach einem schlicht anderen Leben. Für diese große künstlerische, ja man könnte fast sagen magische Leistung erhalten Sie, liebe Preisträgerinnen und Preisträger, den Literaturpreis der Europäischen Union. Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Thank you very much, Madam Minister, for your kind words and your contribution for this very special edition of the EUPL 2020. Your work, especially over the last months to support the book world, is widely appreciated by everyone in Germany and beyond. Your strong commitment was reflected in your leadership as chair of the Culture Council. Thank you. We will now hear from 5 other laureates presented by the co-president of the European and International Booksellers Federation, Jean-Luc Troutenaire.
Hello, great to see you today. Despite the circumstances, it's good to see we're still managing to foster connections and keep in touch. My name is Jean-Luc Troutenaire, and I'm the co-president of the EIBF, the European and International Booksellers Federation, an association which represents association of booksellers from all over the world, and which is a third part of what we call the consortium, and which organizes the European Union Prize for Literature. Today, we are celebrating you and your will novel during this quite unusual ceremony, which has to be digital. On behalf of Eupl, the AIBF, and the consortium, I wish to congratulate all of you here today for being one of the Eupl 2020 laureates and for writing such inspiring stories. You really are the stars of this award, an inspiration to all of us with your creative minds. Before we start talking about your winning novels, let's hear a bit more about you, where you're from, and a little part of your life. Well, if I can ask you to think back on May this year, how did you feel when you found out you won the Eupl Prize for your country? Lana, you're from Bosnia and Herzegovina. You want to go first?
Hi, everyone. So my name is Lana Bastasic. I was born in Zagreb, but I grew up in Banja Luka, Bosnia. And I have moved a lot. My novel is called Catch the Ray, about two childhood friends from Banja Luka, Bosnia, who go on a trip together from south of Bosnia to Vienna. And this trip is also used to revisit their mutual memories. When I found out that I was one of the laureates, I was in Zagreb. I was there. I couldn't leave the country because of the pandemic, so I was kind of stranded there. And it was just after the earthquake, so everything was a bit hectic. But then this beautiful piece of news got in, and I was just about to enter a secondhand bookstore after a long time of being in lockdown. So everything kind of came into place, and it just made this year much better. So, yeah.
Peter, you're from North Macedonia. Would you like to go next?
Yeah, okay. I'm Petar Donovsky from North Macedonia. I born in Kumanovo. I have published 4 novels. In the lockdown, I write my last novel and first Macedonian queer novel. I'm very proud of that.
Is you go now to Denmark and your Danish winner, Asta.
Okay, so I'm Asta, and I've published 3 books so far. The latest book is a novel. I've published poetry before, so that's a new thing for me. The novel is about an arson that took place in 1990 on a passenger ship that was leaving from Norway to Denmark. And when I found out that I received this prize, I was surprised, I guess, and very happy, but also, to be honest, everything back in May felt a bit surreal. So I almost couldn't comprehend it because everything was going on online, and there's something about online activities that just don't translate in the same way. So I guess it have been a little surreal, but of course also very joyful, and a reminder also that there is something outside of your own country, which is great and good to be, especially good to be reminded of this year. Yeah.
Matthias from Germany. Can I pass the digital stage to you?
Hi everybody, I'm Matthias. I am situated in Berlin right now in my apartment. I was born in Poland and moved to Germany when I was 10, and I started to learn German, and I started to write in German, but I also write in Polish. I write poetry in Polish. I have published 4 German-speaking novels, 1 journal, and some essays and short stories in newspapers and anthologies. And when I found out that I was the laureate for this prize, I was surprised in 2 ways, because there had been a small mix-up beforehand, because somebody from a publishing house called me the day before and he said, I am the laureate. And I was very happy. And then he called me again and told me that he mixed up things, that I was only nominated, but not the laureate yet. So I was down again. And on the next day, it was a very sunny day. I was taking a walk outside in my neighborhood. And I got the call from Nina George that I am actually really the laureate. So I was very, very happy. And, you know, it was kind of very funny ride from up to down and up again. And yeah, and it's like Asta says, it's very surreal to be this year's laureate in this special situation, but I'm still very happy. There are a lot of things happening, and I'm very, very thankful and yeah, very happy.
And finally, let's hear from an Estonian winner, Modlu.
Hello everyone, my name is Modlu and I'm from Estonia. I started writing as a member of a cultural group Saum, and my first stories appeared on the web. When the editor of a cultural magazine, Vikerkaar, found my writings, and he also edited my first book. And this book, the mother of which was largely from the time I participated in the Saum project. But now I have already written 6 books. in 6 years, 6 books, 7 years. But this prize, it came very, very unexpectedly, a very big surprise. I was in my country home in Muhu Island. And after that, I must go in Tallinn. Of course, I felt very honored. But yes, we have been completely specific, very special year in which literary prizes are overshadowed in the pandemic in any case. So I still don't really know what this honor will mean to me in longer run. It would be nice to have some interest in translation, for example.
Thank you all for sharing this insight. My next few questions will relate to your novels. And as you know, I haven't been able to read them. I can only read in French and English. So I try to keep them a bit general so that you can express yourself. Matthias, if you had to pitch your book, what would you tell me about it? What is important for you in this book?
Well, for me, I started to write this book when I moved to Berlin, and this book is about Berlin, because the space is always very important for me. Where does something take place? Because this has something to do with a very concrete history. And in this book, I am telling the stories of 3 to 5 main characters who are met by a narrator who is a writer himself, and they tell him the stories of their lives. And so I would say this is a book about European history, Eastern European, but also Middle European and Western European history in the 20th century, based in a very recent, in the very recent times in Berlin. And it's about European history, or about European identity also, maybe.
Lana, I was quite inspired by the back cover of your book. Is it really a road movie leading to know yourself better?
I don't know. It's very hard for me to pitch any book in a couple of sentences, but if I had to choose one, I would say that maybe it's a book about belonging and how we can belong to a place, and how we can belong to a person, and how we can belong to our memories and language. So I don't know which back cover he was referring to, but yeah, I guess the road trip, geographically speaking, is not as important as the one taking place inside the language.
Modlu, well, I gather this book has a large autobiographical part. Is it easy or easier to write about yourself or more difficult to write about yourself?
Actually, there is no autobiography part. It is true that I was a member of the Saum project, but I myself as a character do not figure in the book. Saum was actually an online community, so many things I had to create from scratch. But I used my insights and knowledge to create a fairly truthful history of this group. On the one hand, and a universal story of youth, idealism and reality on the other. There are so many levels in this book, and it can be read in very many different ways. I just published a new book, and this one is really autobiographical. I can't say it's autobiographical. But Polish poetry is not, and that is why it was much, much harder to write.
Asta, what's the trigger that made you write about the Scandinavian star disaster? And how did the tragedy impact Denmark and the neighboring countries?
I guess it's, like Lana said, hard to sort of say what made you write a book in only a few sentences. But this fire, I see it as I don't know how to say that. I mean, the fire was put on. Oh, I'm sorry. There's so many like special terms here, which I actually don't know in English, because there's a lot of ship terms and a lot of money terms and stuff like that. So actually, and I know this is a bit confusing, but I think I have to focus on another part of the book because I miss the words for that part. So. But besides from the fire part of the book, there is also a love story between two people, and we are quite happy to think that love and capitalism are separates, that they are not interconnected, and my point with this story was to sort of show how they are interconnected and how this woman, which is the main character, how her love life is absolutely determined by her economical situation. So yeah, that is I guess the other main story besides from this fire, which these two characters are connected to in a way that you will find out if you read the book. Yeah.
Peter, what I gather from your story is that it takes place in a small island forgotten by time in history. What does it represent? What kind of symbol is that?
Yeah. I grew up in the Greece. My parents worked in the Greece, in the Creta. And for me, it's very important, the islands. When I first time listened for the Gavdos, islands who is close to the Creta, I know that one day I want to write something for that islands. The novel is for the foreigners and fair from them everything what is I knew. How is the islands close, and the people who live in the islands are very close for the foreigners. But the questions who is in the novel, who is a barbarians or who is a foreigners, and we are all barbarians and foreigners in our life.
Well, thank you for joining and sharing reflection on your work. I'm sure our audiences, like myself, will be excited to read them and discover these novels from themselves. Well, it was only a small digital experience between you, me, and all the people that's watching us now, but let's hope we'll meet in real sometime in the near future. Bye-bye.
Our last guest of honour, a member of the European Parliament, Sabine Verheyen, and the chair of the EP Committee on Culture and Education, will now address the Eupl Laureates.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear winners, I send my biggest congratulations to the winners of this year's European Literature Prize. The European Union Prize for Literature 2020 is certainly a special prize. In the midst of a worldwide pandemic which disrupts our society and leaves us with a fundamental task to strive for recovery and resilience of the European cultural landscape, we celebrate authors of a united yet culturally diverse Europe. The winners of the Literature Prize this year truly represent our European slogan, United in Diversity. Today I can speak to you in relief because the European Parliament was successful and negotiated that finally the budget for the Creative Europe program for the next multi-annual framework has been considerably increased from 1.46 to 2.2 billion. And since Creative Europe is the only EU program that provides direct support to the cultural and creative sectors and industries across Europe, this is a milestone we were able to achieve, and we can support a lot of cultural projects in the next 7 years, including this prize. For the EP and the sectors, this is a huge success. Here in Brussels, we will certainly continue to work on the cultural and creative recovery of Europe, but we must join forces. With the help of all of you, we must continue to promote the importance of culture for our society, not only at European level, but also at national and regional level. Culture is of systematic importance. Literature, art, music, dance, poetry, all these have helped us to survive these months. During this pandemic, which social contexts were or still are strict and limited, we had the possibility with these creative aspects to come together, to join in a similar experience. And I think it is important to strengthen and to say thank you to these creatives, to those people who enabled us to enjoy and take part in cultural activities. But the people, they remained also during this crisis very creative. Creativity is in our human nature. Neighbors, but also strangers met outside with social distance, sometimes each on his own balcony, and sang and played music together. Throughout the entire period of self-isolation, art, culture, and literature flourished and helped us to go through these difficult times. I'm happy to see these creative minds all over Europe, and I would like to refer again to all the artists, creators, and authors who used their creativity to convey messages of hope. Bringing people together, inspiring, calming, entertaining, and sharing creativity. These are the forces of art and culture, whose importance was emphatically emphasized during the COVID-19 shutdown. Culture is not self-evident. Quite on the contrary, we must raise awareness for this power of culture. This prize today is a good start, and the winners are the ambassadors of European creativity and cultural diversity. And I would like to say many thanks for this, and many thanks to those who enrich our life with their creativity. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to you also. The whole book world must say thank you for your dedication and great achievements. We are now reaching the end of the digital ceremony, but before that, let's welcome the last group of winning authors presented by the President of the Federation of European Publishers, Peter Kraus vom Cleff.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for the previous speakers. I'm delighted to have with me 4 other laureates of this year's EUPL. And before we start this, I thank all the previous prominent speakers And I must say, in the name of the Federation of European Publishers, I'm delighted having you. And I'm so proud that you're with us. And it's a pity we can't be physically in Beaux-Arts this year, but the circumstances are as they are. But the four of you represent the fascinating, diverse European culture, because all your works show how different perspectives are, how different European writing is. And that's what makes Europe so wonderful to me and all to everyone. So before we speak briefly about your respective books, let me just ask you, all of you, how you reacted when you received the note that you got the European Prize for Literature this year. Since then, what happened and what will happen thanks to the prize? Have you felt any impact on it? And Masha, Natalie, Stefan, Spetim, I'd like to give you the floor virtually. And what has the prize made for your work? So I think we start with Masha, probably.
Thank you. I was really pleasantly surprised when receiving this award. I was very excited, and I'm also very grateful for this award. After getting this award, the book got really a huge attention in my country, and it also provoked interest from foreign publishers for translating the book. So I'm really looking forward for this opportunity to reach international audience.
Thanks very much. And Natalie, you see it the same way as your colleague Masha?
Yes, the same to say that Masha, it was a very, very good surprise for me. I was very happy. We start to have translations, so it's a good opportunity to can be read in other countries, and it's for me it's a good sign to continue to persevere and to have new lectures, new auditors.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And Spetim, what made the prize for you?
Thanks. I was very happy. I felt something on my chest, and I felt I was outside my body observing my reaction. I was another person that observed the person inside me. So because I hate the false reaction, I was thinking if I was false with myself, but not. I was happy, and as we know, people sometimes are pathetic victims, so they need to look on their journey. I was pathetic with tears on my eyes. I was thinking for literature and her power. It's important for me because I'm first on that I get this prize in Kosovo. So definitely I was full with things on my head. I asked myself if I deserve this prize, and my answer was a question. Why not?
I think the answer is clearly because we had a very prominent jury that you deserve the prize, and I'm happy to have the first Kosovar laureate.
Yeah.
And thanks. Stefan, for you, what has the prize meant for you?
Well, when I found out I have received the award, was truly one of the best feelings I had in past years. I have received many awards, but never this big, and especially in literature. And Montenegro is a small country, and such a news travels very fast, so I really enjoyed being famous for a while. Many things truly changed with the award. I became part of the larger network, and I can see the results already. The book is also very present in the media and bookstores, and it's very visible in the region as well. So I think there has been a lot of talk about the award and book, and we will see how it goes further with translation. I think it is the most important part of the award process.
Thank you very much, the four of you, and your testimonies are so important for me and for all my colleagues, and they encourage us to continue working to promote European literatures and European voices. And you know, reading teaches empathy, and I think the best way, especially when being locked at home, is to learn about other countries, other peoples, other perspectives by reading, and by reading your books and by making translations possible. We couldn't have imagined getting a Kosovar or a Montenegrin point of view without these translations, without your work. So let's hop into some specific questions, if I may. And again, it's not only due to your hair color, Masha. I'd like to start with you. Your book is about ruthless capitalism. It excesses the absurdity of human existence. Life and death intertwine as bug-like characters read from IKEA's catalogs, a funny thing, I think, or keep diaries about how and what they brought through eBay. Capitalism reigns almost everywhere in the world. Are the struggles and absurdity of capitalism also something shared universally? How is it felt more particularly in the Balkans? Any glimpse of hope you can share with us on that?
Yes, thank you. So in my book, I examine how capitalism is a structure of feeling which penetrates deeply in our emotional life, in our intimate life. And I think it's something which is experienced globally and universally in today's world. And speaking particularly about the Balkans, I see its specificities as post-socialist and also post-conflict region. And this I also try to question in my book. And of course, I believe there is hope, and my characters, so as me as author and a person, are trying to find authenticity in today's world and struggling for solidarity and empathy, which is, I believe, in these days needed more than ever.
I totally agree. Thanks for your answer. And now coming to Natalie. Natalie, you question in your book whether we really know the people closest to us. Following your main character's mysterious death on a French trail, Véronique Verbruggen's portrait unfolds and reveals her as a woman who could not choose between two men in her life, her husband and her lover. Your main character has two lives happening in two different environments. Was the geographical separation between these two lives important? Is there something they relate to?
Of course, La Carte des Regrets is a fiction, but the goal is to keep something of the humanity with this story. And I think I have something to say about the complexity of the characters, complexity of the life. It's something very with intimity. I work with intimity. It's not like, as Masha, my precedent book was about more the world, and here is what's happened between three characters in their life. And I think the geography is very important. So we are not the same. If we are for Véronique, if she's in the Cévennes or in Paris, she's not the same woman, but she's always Véronique, and that's the subject of the book, who we are, and we are maybe a lot of people in the same person.
Thank you very much. And in the old days when we traveled, the question of who are we depending on the environment we are, I think is more vivid than sitting at home being locked. And now to you, Stefan, you're describing 9 turbulent days in the life of Montenegro's Minister of Culture, Valentino Kovačević, a naive young intellectual confronted to his own demise after he accidentally caused the death of an artist during a theater performance. Except maybe for the tragedy of the death of this artist, the struggle within one's own administration, within one's own family must sound very familiar to many politicians. Is it also true for authors, or at least for you as a screenwriter and playwright?
Well, I believe administration and family problems are unavoidable in all our lives, and politicians, of course, have more responsibility. And I always write about characters that have more responsibility than other people. Both administrative and family problems especially become evident in the place like Balkans. And as much as we try to be closer to West, there are strong tribe bonds that make it impossible for the administration to be understood or implemented. And the minister in my novel is someone who has to adapt to both his tribe, family, and tough system that surrounds him. And that becomes hard, almost impossible. So in that void between his intention and the outcome is precisely where the novel is set. But the author does not necessarily have to be in the same trouble, but he has to be an observer or witness in film and the theater as much as in literature.
Thank you, Stefan. And I think it helps us by reading your book, probably understanding more the perspectives of the politician who has to do difficult situations and difficult decisions. And now to you, Spetim. Your narrator writes his existential reflections on his everyday routine, an issue of local and global consequences. Your writing describes the life of the contemporary man in post-war Kosovo, and him to the little things in life and a reflection on identities. How much is the narrator in your story actually yourself? I think it's a typical question to an author. And what sets apart the life of the ordinary Kosovar man compared to European counterparts? And what are the similarities? Or to put it another way, a Kosovar author compared to his European counterparts. What's your perspective?
To be honest, the narrator is me. So the book is, it was written in a very sensitive time for me. I lost my father and I became a father in the same year. But the book, it's not just about this. It was for my son to tell him my story and where he is coming, and to be clear with him, to give him a lot of answers, to alert him a lot of things that he will face. You can say it's like a manual for him. He must, I think that he must be free. He must be lion and always proud. There is no other way. Proud of being in this world full with idiots and stupidity. The book also is a hybrid. I try to understand myself, to call myself, and to survive for myself. I do not write for nothing else, just because I must survive. For a second question, I think that we don't have any similarities. The random man from Kosovo is still isolated this time. Is living in a double isolation because of pandemic rules. We are full with the political issues and we are tired being in this cage. It's bad to repeat myself, but we still need visa to travel to the EU. We are not equals with the Europeans because the doors are closed. So it's difficult for us to build openly when the EU keeps doors closed for us. We suffer because of political things, and we seem to have developed a total reliance on what happens in political life. Sometimes we are a victim of different political logic and different prejudices. So otherwise, we have an amazing cultural scene, and we are waiting to express ourselves in European market and to go through this isolation because we believe in European values and we have a lot of things to say.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That's what unites us, right? That we believe in European values and also in the freedom of expression. And my late father, I was moved when you talked about your book, Spetim. My late father always said, we should live, we should love, and we should leave behind a legacy. And I think your book is leaving behind a legacy also for your son. So thank you, Masha. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Stefan and Spetim for giving a little insight. And it's a pleasure having you laureates together with us, like the previous laureates and the laureates. And I wish we could see each other, hopefully, I knock on wood, on May 11th and 10th in Brussels for your readings. And I wish to have a toast to you then. And thanks for everyone's attendance and for those engaged in organizing UPL this year and for those who make this possible of having such fantastic talents from all over Europe. And I hope all the best for your works and that you may find many, many translating other publishing houses to spread the words. And I'm really happy having you all here and all the best for the future for all of you. Thank you very much.
This concludes this different award ceremony of the 2020 European Union Prize for Literature. Thank you for joining the celebration. We hope you enjoyed it. Congratulations again to all 13 laureates for their remarkable awarded books. To discover their universal stories, please consider downloading the 2020 European Union Prize for Literature anthology on our website, which features excerpts from all 13 winning books in their original languages and in an English translation.